All right, good day, everybody. Welcome to episode 1 of Reach for the Firefighter Badge. The first episode is going to discuss why do you want to become a firefighter? So my name is Steve Prziborowski. I'm a Deputy Chief from Northern California, and I want to be able to share some of my experiences, life lessons, and other things in a number of episodes here. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the first of hopefully many episodes of Reach for the Firefighter Badge. My goal is to offer you a series of videos, or vlogs as they're called, to assist those that aspire to be a firefighter. Whether you want to work as a career full-time firefighter, a volunteer firefighter that doesn't get paid, or maybe a part-time paid firefighter, the information I'm going to share and discuss in not just this episode, but all of the future episodes can benefit you, regardless also of where you want to work or where you live. You know, things that go on in California versus things that go on maybe in New York or North Dakota or Florida are really drastically not that different for the most part. There are some similarities, there may be some differences. I'll try to share and discuss those different things around the country, but the information I'm sharing and discussing can be of benefit regardless of where you're at. So just a little bit about myself before we get started. I've been in the fire service for over 28 years, starting out as a fire explorer with the city of Alameda, basically a non-paid position where I volunteered as a fire explorer, learning to see what a firefighter does. A lot of departments have fire explorer programs, primarily for folks that are 14 to 18 years old, but since I was over 18, I was able to get into what they call an associate advisor position. It was still a volunteer position just because I was above 18 years old, but allowed me to at least get some experience from my resume. Great experience. From there, I was able to become a student firefighter with the Oakland Fire Department. The Oakland Fire Department has a work experience program through the Chabot College Fire Technology Program. Chabot College is located in Hayward, California, just south of Oakland, across the bay from San Francisco, and just north of us in San Jose, where I live. Student firefighter was an awesome program to be able to get experience for my resume and really start getting some valuable lessons learned, and also start learning what a firefighter does. Now, not everyone may have the chance to do any volunteer time in some capacity, because I know depending on where you're at, depending on where you live, you may not have volunteer departments. It's possible. You may have mostly career departments, and some of those career departments don't have volunteers. Some of them may or may not have explorer posts, as they're called. So it really depends on where you're at. Don't think you have to have this experience to get hired, but I'm just sharing some of my experiences that I think were beneficial. From there, I was able to get my first paid position. It was minimum wage, part-time, but hey, it was experience. Part-time, they worked us 48 hours a week, which is usually full-time in most departments. But as you're going to learn, if you haven't figured out already, most full-time career firefighters work anywhere from 42 to 56 hours. So I was working pretty much 48 hours a week, getting a chance to be a member of a company and member of a crew, and respond to calls. So it was a great experience working as a paid call firefighter for about a year and a half that I did. And then from there, I got my first full-time career position back in 1995 as a full-time firefighter, engineer, and paramedic with my current department I work for right now in the Silicon Valley. Now, that took me about 4.5 years to become a firefighter. That 4.5 years, and I say 4.5 years to become a firefighter, that was 4.5 years to get my first full-time career position. That part-time position with the Elk Grove Fire Department, that took me about 2 years to get. So it's not easy becoming a firefighter. Even volunteer positions, explorer positions, whatever you call them, are sometimes just as competitive and just as challenging to get as a full-time position. So it's not easy becoming a firefighter. So I want to share, as I shared earlier, a lot of my lessons learned over the years to hopefully benefit you as you move forward. So after becoming a firefighter, engineer, paramedic, did that for about 5 years. Then I got promoted to captain. I was a captain for about 5 years, and then I got promoted to battalion chief. Did that for about 5 years, and then I got promoted to deputy chief. I was deputy chief of training for a few years. Then I served as deputy chief of administrative services for almost 2 years. And then I was deputy chief of operations for almost 2 years. And then now I'm deputy chief of training again. So I've been a deputy chief for about the last 9 years. That's pretty much my career in a nutshell. Very fortunate to have done a lot of great things over the years. And there is no one current perfect path, but what you make of your career is hopefully what's going to help you set you up for success. So a little bit more about myself. I've authored 3 books. I really enjoy speaking, but I also enjoy writing. 2 of my books are on firefighter career preparation that I'll share info on shortly. Another one's on promotional preparation for those that are on the job, that are preparing to become a captain or maybe a battalion chief, deputy chief, or even fire chief. Got 2 more books being finalized. One of them is also on promotional preparation, and then another one is on leadership. So I really enjoy putting words to paper and doing what I can to help benefit others. As I mentioned, I enjoy writing things. I've had over 200 articles published in all the major fire magazines: Fire Engineering, Firehouse, Fire Rescue, Fire Nuggets. A lot of them are out there. A lot of them are published and posted on my website. So I'll share my website shortly so you can access those free of charge. Besides being in the fire service for over 28 years, all of my time in the fire service, I've also been very fortunate to also have served as an instructor. Instructor for all ranks of folks. I obviously enjoy teaching people and encouraging people, helping people get hired as a firefighter, but I also enjoy helping them get promoted in the fire service as well too. So a lot of my instructional experience around the country, as I've been fortunate to have classes scheduled or already taught in 33 states. A lot of my training outside of California is obviously leadership and officer development for people that are already on the job that are looking to promote or just be better at what they do. And I've also had a chance to teach in Canada as well, which is awesome. I mentioned I'm also a part-time faculty member at Chabot College in Hayward. Been teaching there for pretty much the 28 plus years I say I've been an instructor. So I've been very fortunate to for a while teach the EMT program, teaching their paramedic program when that was still around. I still teach in the Firefighter 1 Academy, and I still teach the Intro to Fire, the Fire 1 class. And I'm also a part-time instructor at the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. A great experience once you're on the job to get back there and take advantage of so many different courses for all ranks of personnel. I've been an oral board rater and proctor for thousands of candidates of all ranks. I've had a chance not just to be a candidate, meaning I had to get hired and get promoted, but I've also been on the other side of the table as a rater and a proctor, not just for entry-level candidates, but also for engineer promotions, captain promotions, battalion chief promotions, deputy chief promotions, assistant chief promotions. So I've been, fortunate to have a lot of good experience on both sides of the table that I can offer you as I discuss these things over the next handful of episodes. I've also had a chance to mentor countless individuals. Many of them have been hired as firefighters, but also I've been fortunate to mentor countless others that have been promoted to engineer, promoted to captain, battalion chief, deputy chief, assistant chief, division chief, all the way up to fire chief. So the information I'm sharing and that I'm passionate about is hopefully going to, show to you and hopefully inspire you to be the best you can be as you move forward. So the webinars are based on the 2 books that are related to entry-level preparation that I published. Number 1, The Future Firefighters Preparation Guide, and then number 2, Reach for the Firefighter Badge. They're both separate, distinct books that complement each other, but I think there's a lot of great nuggets in there that you can benefit from. So I'm going to try to cover some of those items without obviously sharing everything, because there's no way to share everything there, but I also want to share some new ideas that I've had since I've published those. Now I want to talk about some goals as we move forward. My goals as we move forward, number 1, to inspire you to be the best that you can be. Simply put, I want to inspire you to do what it takes to become a firefighter. And you look at that picture there where it says our choice. Those are candidates that have been hired as firefighters. It doesn't matter if they're volunteer, career, part-time, they're brought on as firefighters. They're taking the oath of office, which means they're going to serve their community as public civil servants. That oath of office is very important to remember as we move forward. We're not in it for us. We're in it for those that we're fortunate to serve. I don't want to say we're in it for them as some people do, because I don't want to have that us versus them. It's not us versus them. We're all in this together when it comes to serving our community as civil servants, as firefighters. Other goals of mine. I want to inform you of current best practices. I want to educate you on current best practices. I want to encourage you to go down rabbit holes. When I say go down rabbit holes, what I mean is I'm going to be talking about a lot of things, not just in this episode, but in many future episodes. And if you've never heard of a word or term before, I want you to be able to write that word down and maybe Google it. GTS, you're going to hear me say a lot. Google that shit or Google that stuff. If you've never heard of a word or a term, or you've never seen a website before, check it out. What's the worst that could happen? So I want you to go down rabbit holes, because that's how we get better and that's how we learn things. It's all about knowledge, skills, and abilities, and you being the best you can be. If you haven't figured out by now, I'm very passionate. I'm very passionate about, number one, the fire service, and also helping mentor others, train others, and also give back as shares with as it goes with my last goal, paying it forward and hoping you do the same. As you can tell, as I mentioned, I've been an instructor for 28 years. I'm not waiting to give back or pay it forward to the point that I've been on the job for almost 28 years, actually over 28 years. I started doing that from the time I got hired, from even before I got hired. When I was still a student firefighter, a paid call firefighter working part-time, I was still teaching fire and EMS related stuff because I had that passion to pay it forward, and I'm hoping you do the same. So again, I hope some of my passion rubs off on you in various forms or fashions. Now, free stuff, not here to sell you anything. My 2 websites, please, I encourage you to go down rabbit holes, check them out. I've got a lot of great information on both. Code3firetraining.com is my promotional preparation, officer development website. That's my main website. And I also run Chabot College's fire technology program website, chabotfire.com. There's entry-level firefighter preparation on both the websites, but especially chabotfire.com. So they both have free stuff links. Hey, doesn't cost anything to check it out. Again, lots of links to other things and lots of information to keep you busy for hours, if not days. So again, and also my contact information, which I'll definitely share at the end, but feel free to check out the websites and see how I can best assist you. Simple question, why do you want to become a firefighter? You've got to be able to have an answer for that one. So all I want to focus on for this #1 episode is, why do you want to become a firefighter? You may think it's an easy question, but it's not. So if you think about becoming a firefighter, why do you want to become a firefighter? Look at this picture here. You know, it's a funny meme. You know, we all know that one person, not the one person that's grabbing the potato chips, but that one person that's sitting there with all the, you know, the radios, the pagers. I know some departments still have pagers. I know pagers to some people are like, what the heck is a pager? Well, some volunteer firefighters or paid call firefighters still carry those around their belt because that's how they're dispatched to calls. And sometimes they're jokingly called Ricky Rescues. Hey, it is what it is. I'm not gonna be a hater, but we all know that one person, and hopefully that's not your primary reason. Now, just to cover a few reasons of why you want to become a firefighter. If you're in it to fight fire, in all honesty, yeah, the long pause was on purpose. If you're in it to fight fire, you're going to be disappointed. If you GTS, Google that stuff, statistics for any fire department across the country, virtually every fire department, when you look at what their call volume is primarily EMS, emergency medical service related calls. Most departments run probably 60 to 80% EMS calls. You look at their fire calls are usually 10% or even 5% or less. My department, 5% of our calls are fire, 5%. There's a trick though. Actual fires are 1%, meaning we're dispatched to report a fire many times. Hey, my house is on fire. Hey, there's a car on fire. Hey, there's a tree on fire. We get dispatched for a lot of those types of calls, but it's not uncommon to get there and the fire's either out, or maybe it's not a fire at all. Maybe it's a false alarm. So think about that. 1% of our calls are fire. I know our patch says fire department, our t-shirts say fire department, the engines and the trucks say fire department, the firehouses say fire department. Some would say that's false advertising. Yeah, probably so. Maybe it should be fire and EMS department, or fire and emergency services department, or fire, EMS, and rescue department, as some departments have done around the country. That's at least maybe not false advertising. But here's the challenge. You're the fire chief tomorrow and you tell your crews, hey, we're going to change the name from fire department to emergency services department. You're going to be the most hated fire chief in history because the term fire department is very traditional. I'm not saying tradition's bad or good. I mean, some traditions are great. Some maybe can be improved, but there's got to be a balance between progression and tradition. Can't all be progression. It can't all be tradition. So that's the challenge that we have in the fire service, that it's hard to change the name, but sometimes I think people question of why did you show up? I'm having a heart attack. I didn't call for the fire department. I called for an ambulance. And then most people don't realize that, well, most firefighters are either EMTs or paramedics. Many fire departments staff those EMTs and paramedics on the fire engines and the fire trucks. And a lot of fire departments actually run the ambulance service. So you maybe called for an ambulance, but the fire department's the one to show up because we strategically have firehouses located around a community for fast response. fire, rescue, EMS, whatever. But back to this thing, if you're in it to fight fire, you're probably going to be, I don't know, disillusioned, because it's not uncommon to have many people get on the job and they go, we don't fight that much fire. I mean, yeah, you don't. You should have done your homework. When I say that, I don't mean that to be sarcastic, but if you had actually done your research and homework and saw that 1% of our calls are fire, and that's all you want to do, and you're going to be disappointed otherwise, don't waste our time. Don't waste the public's time. Don't waste your colleagues' time. Don't waste your brother and sister's time. Because again, most of us don't fight fire every day. Talk to a lot of firefighters around the country. Very few, if any, see fire every day. And I'm not talking watching TV. Very few see fire every day, let alone a lot of firefighters are lucky to see fire once a month or maybe a couple times a year, depending on the type of department you work at. It just is what it is. So get in it for the right reasons, and we'll talk about the right reasons. Nothing wrong with wanting to fight fire. I'm just saying you're going to be disappointed if that's the only reason you want to be a firefighter. Number two, why do you want to be a firefighter? If you want to save lives, you're probably going to be disappointed. And when I say that, again, is you do have the chance to save lives, directly or indirectly. Now, you talk to the average firefighter, go to any firehouse around the country, knock on the door, and if you ask any firefighter, hey, have you ever grabbed someone from the clutches of death? Have you ever saved someone's life directly? And I bet you the average firefighter will probably say, nope, been on the job 20 years, I've never grabbed someone from the clutches of death. And you may go, huh? Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of the services that we provide, whether it's basic life support as EMTs or advanced life support as paramedics, yeah, a lot of those things can and do save lives. Hopefully the fire prevention and public education activities that we're doing, also known as community risk reduction, CRR, hopefully those things are saving lives before the bad things happen. But by the time someone calls 911 and we actually physically respond and get out there, most of the time, it's, there's not a lot of times that we get to truly save someone's life. So again, if you're in to fight fire, save lives, you're going to be disappointed because the chance of saving a life is very slim, just like seeing fire in a lot of departments. Now, again, don't look, oh, you're negative, Steve. No, I'm not negative. I'm just realistic, and I want you to be realistic knowing what you're getting into as well. Are you in it to help others? Don't get me wrong, that's a good thing. But think about it. If you go into your interview, and you're going to probably have to have an interview and say, I want to fight fire and save lives, they're going to probably look at you going, this person did not do their homework. They didn't do their research. They're going to be disappointed. If you get into that interview saying, hey, I want to help others, or even better yet, I want to give back. Well, think of it this way. Let's say right now you're not a firefighter. Shouldn't anyone in the world, regardless of their job, regardless of their line of work, regardless of who they are, shouldn't everyone want to help others and give back? That's human nature. Well, it should be human nature. So if you're joining or wanting to join a fire department just to help others and give back, there's better ways to do it. And don't get me wrong, it's a great way. Don't get me wrong, it is a great way to help others and give back, but there's other ways to do it. Are you going to do it for your civic duty? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nice to be able to do it for those reasons, but today in the year 2020, a lot of times that term civic duty has gotten watered down or forgotten by a lot of others. Think about it. This is still a blue-collar job, and we are civil servants. We work for the community. We serve the community, the taxpayers that basically allow us to be here. And that's, I think, sometimes forgotten. We're not in it for us. We're in it for the public that we serve. Now, another thing, are you in it to be a firefighter for the increased risk of cancer? And you go, huh? A friend of mine made a comment once because his department, like many departments around the country, are struggling to get firefighters. And I say struggling because you may think that's hard to imagine, but up until the coronavirus pandemic hit us in, say, March of 2020, this year, the economy was going along pretty good. And when the economy is going good in pretty much most of the country, most people don't want to be civil servants. Most people do not want to work for government, whether it's law enforcement, fire departments, working for the city, working for the county. Governmental jobs are usually not that exciting or sexy when the economy is doing good. When the economy is doing good, like here in the Silicon Valley, everyone wants the high-tech jobs. They all want to work for Apple, Google, Facebook, all those others, maybe because it's the pay, the prestigiousness. I don't know what it is, or the cool thing, the bright, shiny object. But those jobs are great when the economy is going great. But now we're about 4 months into this pandemic, this coronavirus pandemic, and that, if you haven't paid attention, which I think most of you have because it's affecting all of us in various forms and fashions, especially the economy, the economy's tanking. And when the economy tanks, you're going to see an increased number of personnel that want to work for the government. Maybe not necessarily law enforcement. I mean, law enforcement has been challenged for years trying to get applicants to step up and apply. Now I think it's even more challenging for law enforcement agencies. Thankfully for the fire departments, I think, we usually traditionally have had a lot more people want to become firefighters than law enforcement professionals, even though they're both very important jobs and careers. But back to my buddy who goes, this was, like I said, before March of this year, he goes, we can't get people to apply for our department. I'm hearing that a lot from all across the country. He goes, we're offering them basically marginal wages, decent wages, but compared to tech industry, it's not the same. We offer them marginal wages, and all we can guarantee them that they're probably going to get cancer if they're on the job long enough, and we can probably guarantee they'll get a back injury or something else because of the job that they do. And you may go, what are you talking about? Well, cancer is at an all-time high, I think, across the country. I mean, cancer, it sucks. Cancer seems to be getting worse for all types of folks. I mean, I honestly think if all of us are around long enough, regardless of the type of industry we work at, we're probably going to get cancer if we live long enough. It sucks. If you're a firefighter, for example, you even have a higher increased risk of cancer, even with wearing the full PPE or personal protective equipment, the training that we provide you, you still have an increased risk of cancer, and also back injuries and other types of debilitating injuries that may hamper you, not just for the job, but for your entire career and beyond. So here we are, we wonder why people don't step up to be firefighters. It's not meant for everybody. Some of them don't want to give back. Some of them maybe don't believe in civic duty. Some of them go, what do you mean, increased risk of cancer, back injuries? Yeah, those things happen. It's a physical, labor-intensive job. So think about the reasons. Now, some more reasons. I mentioned that earlier. It's a job and it's a career that may kill or injure you. On the average, about 100 firefighters are dying each year. Not all of them are dying from actual fires. A lot of them are dying from stress and heart-related activities. Cancer is obviously up there as well, too. Now throw in suicides. Suicides are up nationwide. More firefighters are dying by suicides than they are by line of duty death, meaning line of duty, LODD, means you're killed on the job, performing your job, doing something related to the job. Maybe responding to the call, you get into a traffic accident, you die that way, that's line of duty death. Or you maybe develop cancer or some heart-related condition because of the job itself, and it's determined to be related to the job, line of duty death. This is a job or a career that may kill or injure you. I mean, again, we're wondering why we're getting less people to step up to the plate. It's like playing football. If you play football right now, especially tackle football, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, with no disrespect to rocket scientists, to realize that if you play football, especially tackle football, you're probably going to get some concussions. And we all know by now that multiple concussions will lead to some type of brain injuries over time. It's just a matter of fact, sad to say. I'm not saying don't play football, don't be a firefighter, but you got to look at these things. You got to do your homework before you go in. Now, if you're doing it for the wages, the benefits, or working conditions, I've already shared the working conditions. People are calling us on their worst day. When we're coming to people's houses or businesses, or they're calling 911, it's usually not to say hi and say thank you for your service. They're usually having their worst day, or maybe a loved one or a family member, a friend, or even someone they don't even know is having their worst day. So the conditions we're put upon, like I said, that may increase our chances for cancer or high blood pressure or stroke or stress-related injuries. Yeah, working conditions are not always the best. We're trying our best to have good working conditions, but again, we're doing things that the average person doesn't want to do. Think about that. When a building is on fire, what do most people do? They run out. And then, of course, they call 911, and guess who runs in? Us. So, hey, it's a hazardous environment. I'm not saying we need to make it more hazardous or do stupid things, but it is a hazardous environment. Now, back to the wages. If you're doing it for the wages, now, in some parts of the country, the wages are not that great. Usually decent wages. In some parts of the country, like on the West Coast, the wages are very competitive. It's not uncommon on the West Coast to have firefighters paid 6 digits, meaning $100,000 a year or more. And I know if you're from the East Coast or maybe the South or Midwest and you go, oh my God, a firefighter out in, I don't know, Alabama, Arkansas may start out at 30, 40,000 a year, or not start out at, maybe start out at, or maybe have their top step be 40,000 a year. I know cost of living is a lot cheaper in other parts of the country besides the West Coast. And it's not uncommon that I hear firefighters that I get to meet in my travels go, wow, your firefighters make 100 grand a year when they start. It's like, yeah, but that $150,000 house in your neck of the woods is about a $1.5 million house in our neck of the woods. That $30,000 salary in your area that doesn't seem as much as our $100,000 salary, that $30,000 salary a year is going to go farther where you live because of cost of living. Out here, $100,000 a year does not allow you to typically buy a house or even rent something close by, unless you have maybe a spouse or significant other to help support the household, or you've saved up a lot of money. So the wages may seem good, but you got to realize wages can change. When the economy tanks, as it's doing right now, if you haven't figured out by now, we are going into a recession worse than the Great Depression of 1929, I think that was. I'm not here to discourage you or be negative, but you got to also be looking at the big picture. While the wages may be decent right now, or even really good in your eyes, they can change. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. It's not uncommon during a recessionary period. Think back to maybe 2008 to I think 2011, give or take, when we had sort of our last economic downturn. There was a lot of firefighters around the country, and not just firefighters, but police officers, governmental workers, taking pay cuts. Yeah, pay cut of 5%, 10%, 20%. Or maybe not just no pay cut, but just no raise for a number of years. My department, for a 4-year period, we didn't have a pay cut, but there was no wage increase. So we kept the same salary for 4 years. Hey, thankfully there was no pay cut, but we weren't increasing. And as we know, even though there's no maybe pay increase, and I'm not a financial wizard by any means, but I encourage you to be a financial wizard, because that's what I think we should all be really good at. But anyway, we all know that even if there is no pay raises, cost of living never goes down. Cost of living always goes up in some capacity. So that's the challenging part. Benefits, yeah, we have usually very good benefits, whether it's healthcare benefits, retirement pension plans, but a lot of those things are changing around the country, and they're not changing for the better, trust me. They're usually changing for the worse, because if you haven't figured out by now, and I mentioned finances a few seconds ago, benefits are a big portion of your salary. So let's just say even $100,000. Again, maybe you're a West Coast firefighter making $100,000 a year in salary. Well, when you look at your total compensation package, of meaning not just your salary, but what you're getting paid in benefits, that 100,000, your total compensation could be anywhere from 150,000 maybe to 180,000, give or take. An extra 50 to 80,000 just in your healthcare costs. Healthcare isn't cheap. Retirement is not cheap. So for example, like in many departments around here, if your employer is paying you $100,000 a year, 50% of that, they are also paying into your retirement. What that means, that if you're getting $100,000 a year salary in Northern California, not you, but your department is also paying $50,000 of that above and beyond. So that $100,000 is your salary, and then there's 50% or $50,000 just for your retirement pension. You might be paying a little bit of it into it, but they're also paying 50% or more. In some departments, upwards of 60%. That's not even counting healthcare benefits. Healthcare is not cheap. They may also be spending another $20,000 a year just in your healthcare for you and your family. So yeah, your salary may be $100,000 or say $50,000, but it's all relative in the sense of the percentage. Your department, your employer, or your city, whoever it is that pays you, is also paying a lot of money into your healthcare and your pension typically. So those are not cheap. If you're getting into this for the wages, the benefits, the work conditions, my point is don't do it for those reasons. Yeah, they may be good at the moment that you apply, but they can change. They may change for the better, but they're probably going to change for the worse as time goes by, especially with so much public scrutiny of people looking at, why are we paying our public servants, us, so much money? We're in a spotlight. And in today's transparent world of transparency, we have to be aware of those. We can't be tone deaf. So in a lot of departments, you're starting to see a lot of firefighters or civil servants, governmental workers, not getting as many benefits as they used to, or maybe having to pay more of their salary into their benefits just to keep those benefits. So again, they're good if you can have them, but don't do it for those reasons. Yeah, even if you get a pension, which some departments aren't even giving pensions or retirement benefits anymore because they can't afford them. They're expensive. Even if a department doesn't provide that, they may have a 401k or some type of savings plan. But even if they do provide a retirement plan or pension, it doesn't mean it's going to be here 20, 30, 40, 50 years away. Look at some of these cities that got bankrupt: City of Detroit, Stockton, San Bernardino, Southern California. Back in 2008, 2011, in our economic downturn, these cities that went bankrupt, you got to do some research, because when a city goes bankrupt, that pretty much kills all their contracts, meaning wages, benefits are now up for discussion and probably not for the better. And now if you're a retiree collecting a pension, you may lose that pension. There's no guaranteed right to that pension. Yeah, I know there's guaranteed rights that you're going to hear from people, but if the money isn't there and the city goes bankrupt, anything's possible. So save your money. Don't rely on your pension. Why do you want to be a firefighter? Maybe someone or something has inspired you. I think that's quite a good possibility as well too. Maybe it's a friend, a family member, or maybe you just happening to see Big Red, meaning the big red fire engine driving down the street when you were younger, or maybe saw a movie, maybe you saw a TV show. I don't know what it was, but I want you to know why you want to become a firefighter. Be able to articulate that, because the oral board that you're going to be interviewing in front of, most departments require an oral board, even for volunteer positions, but especially for paid career positions, you're going to have to pass at least one oral interview. And they're going to probably ask you a lot of questions, one being, why do you want to be a firefighter? So you better have some good answers, because if you answer, well, I want to be a firefighter to help people and give back, I already shared that's probably not a good answer. Or I want it for the wages, the benefits, the working conditions. Okay, if you're telling your future employer you're only in it for the money or the benefits, those are probably not the most, I don't know, righteous reasons, for lack of a better term. Now, one more thing to cover here. Last but not least, are you in it for the t-shirt, the cool t-shirt, the stickers to put in your car, your truck, your ATV, your motorcycle, your bike, I don't know, your skateboard? Are you in it for the license plates? You may laugh. Sadly, there are a lot of people that are called t-shirt firefighters, meaning they wear their t-shirts, and there's nothing wrong with wearing a fire department shirt. I wear many fire department shirts from from departments around the country, and even internationally, from friends I've met, departments I've taught for. I wear them proudly. I don't do stupid things with my shirts on when I'm out and about in the public, like hanging out in the bar and doing stupid things, but I try to wear them professionally, respectfully. But anyway, there are some firefighters that wear them just for the sake of looking cool and impressing people. If you want to be that person, we don't want you. There's enough of those folks out there. So do it for the right reason. Now, in closing here, regardless of the reason that you want to become a firefighter, you better be all in, and you better be able to articulate it to others, because like I shared, you're going to be asked during your oral interview while you meet other firefighters and talk to other firefighters. No wrong answers, but hopefully you have the right reasons. Now, lastly, thank you very much for your time. Don't just stay safe, make it safe. My contact information is here. Feel free to reach out. I shared my websites earlier. Connect with me on social media, and hopefully this information is beneficial. I look forward to you on future episodes. Be safe, take care, and good luck.